What occurs when brutality meets? This is compassion in a fine dining establishment. The amazing tale of Johnny Depp. Filling in for the homeless man Ethan. Humiliated for merely requesting food. Discovered a lifeline in a twist that will make you unable to speak before we keep going, and let us know where you are watching from Ethan's shaking hand as taking hold of the chilly metal handle of the massive glass door of the restaurant without. With hesitancy, he opened it and took a step. Within, the unexpected surge of warmth and the sound of elegant cutlery drowned out the hitting his ears. He didn't stop to marvel at the gleaming marble floors or all he could hear was the mumbling eaters could concentrate on was the intense hunger. "Excuse me," he's twisted in his tummy. Kept his voice from breaking as he went up to the desk, with every eye in the space seems to close in on him, and an unwanted intruder in a world where elegant elegance, the waiter behind Daniel looked up from his counter. Digital order package. His gaze swept across Ethan's worn coat, a weary expression, and a sneer. "You're here for a freebie," he said. Daniel's tone was dripping with food when he said, "This isn't a soup kitchen, so disregard it." Despite his racing heart, Ethan forced, "Please allow him to talk once more. I haven't consumed in days, so I'm not requesting charity." A comforting grin that strengthened the kitchen door shook Ethan's spirit, revealed itself behind Daniel, and he returned with a platter that said, lifting the cover revealed more than it gave. Ethan's heart fell as he saw an overdone, charred steak that has shriveled. Portions of beef with a single. The feast wasn't the unseasoned potato. It was an insult, as he had hoped. On porcelain. "Take pleasure in your dinner," Daniel stated in a tone sweet and fake, as though the sorrow of the charred meal were joked about. Among Then, a thick hush fell. Johnny stopped his fingers over the table, hammering on the tabletop while his eyes darkened. He didn't have to say anything. If everything else, the message was obvious. The focus of the room changed, and Ethan's not only did hunger cause my heart to race, but a mixture of shame and expectancy that cannot allow the shame to stood. Johnny pushed his chair slowly back, rose. The whisper of the eatery grew quieter as everyone's eyes turned to face him. Regaining his balance, he went to the table that Ethan was at, where still sitting with the offending plate. With purposeful composure, he raised the plate, examining the charred meat closely as though evaluating its value, then using a measured movement that didn't allow for. "I doubt he put it back. Is this how you serve your customers?" Johnny's voice sliced as he asked his customers, like a pointed blade piercing the tension. Blade. Daniel's smile wavered even more. "I made a mistake when I ordered a steak," muttered, frantically attempting to dismiss the conflict. Johnny moved closer to his presence, causing the air to become more dense with authority. "The order isn't what matters. About treating everyone who enters with respect. This eatery merits special treatment. With honor, when you make fun of someone you must deprive them of their dignity." His comments were serene but full of an unquestionable danger struck a chord with. There was a wave of murmurs from everyone in the room, dispersed throughout Daniel, one of the diners, under the strain of Instead, scrutiny scrambled for an answer. He took something out of his pocket and tugged. "Johnny, your manager," called out. Sternly but softly ordered, and suddenly the sound of approval from the diners who were observing increased Johnny's confidence and Daniel's. The expression was filled with a mixture of rage and shame, and having no real options, he moved back in the direction of the kitchen, leaving a startled hush in its wake. With a room full of eager eyes, Ethan sat. They are experiencing a range of emotions. Wave of shame from earlier in life. Shame and a nascent optimism that perhaps he was finally spotted. Minutes away, the eateries. The mood changed again in the kitchen. A burly man entered as the door swung open once again. Someone with a well-ironed uniform came forward. The manager of the restaurant, Mr. Lawson, had a reputation for maintaining high standards of service tonight, but his expression bore a mixture of bewilderment and worry as he examined the Sir. Mr. Lawson opened the scene by speaking with measured civility. Johnny revealed a hidden stiffness. I am aware that there is an. Johnny resolved his problem with a steady looked and gestured toward the dish in front of them. Tell me, Mr. Lawson, of Ethan. Is this the level of service you expect? Maintain that a paying client, regardless of his looks, should be handled with mockery and provided a charred, unworthy. Mr. Lawson's gaze flitted from the plate to Ethan's dejected expression, then to Daniel's bones, which were now hovering. I apologize. Anxiously beside the doorway, Mr. Lawson spoke in an increasingly earnest tone. He went on to say, this is unacceptable. Your meal will be changed right away. He made a clear pledge on the house. The eatery would rectify the situation. A sigh of relief filled the room. Numerous diners gave nods of approval, some even softly clapping as the atmosphere of injustice started to leave Johnny, his eyes never. I'm leaving Danny Elk now to avoid eyes. Let this serve as a silent lesson in respect. Is not a barter item, rather, it's a. Indeed, Daniel's quiet was the only. He was able to respond as Mr. Lawson took him away, abandoning Ethan and Johnny by himself at the table. The mood, once repressive and contemptuous, now pulsing, having the potential for salvation. Ethan gazed at the just arrived with a well-cooked steak on the dish, backed by a vibrant blend of veggies, and for an extended period of time he could barely believe what he saw. Vibrant and robust flavors appeared to wash, removing the previous resentment of embarrassment when he took his first bite of. His eye began to brim up with tears, not only from the overwhelming flavor, but because of the weight. Johnny sat in awe of what the night had become. Opposite him, his eyes were soft and. How does it feel? He inquired, encouragingly. Gently, he asked Ethan to share. Not only his. Ethan hesitated and swallowed hard, hungry. As he searched for the right words, it's incredible how he controlled his shaking voice. I never imagined that someone would defend. I never imagined that I would be treated this. Johnny grinned and said, I mattered. Was warm as well as. Ethan, you are important, and tonight. You've proven your value to everyone. Demonstrating respect not because you're receiving a complimentary lunch, however, since you're a human being, the one who deserves dignity. Their dialogue was. Mr. Lawson interrupted, approaching with a silent. I sincerely apologize once more, sir. Sorry for what transpired. We're taking actions to guarantee that this doesn't occur again. His voice was one of sincere apologies, and as after he left, the atmosphere appeared to calm down back into a soothing hum, yet the change of the evening was not yet finished. As the evening wore on, and the lively conversation in the cafe resumed, Johnny leaned in closer to Ethan. Shared something with me that he said his lowering of voice. Do you have any conspiratorial thoughts? That you may not be merely a face. Ethan blinked at his fork on the sidewalk. Suspended in midair for a little while. What do? You mean that Johnny had a gleam in his eyes? Combination of mischievous behavior and sincerely, what if you were able to? A time in the future when you're not just getting by. Although flourishing, I am aware of several locations that perhaps we need honest, hard-working people. It's time for you to demonstrate what you truly have. Ethan's heart in you. Hammered as he attempted to comprehend the potential for years that he had been a shadow that is invisible as passing through the planet without any prior notice. But here was a man who observed him and have faith in him and do it for me. His voice was a mixture of incredulity and I sincerely hope. Johnny responded without. With hesitation, he reached into his pocket once more and extracting a tiny embossed card. Give me a call tomorrow, and we'll confirm. You have the chance to. Worthy Ethan took the card with his head spinning with trembling fingers. Visions of a world he had never dared to imagine. Envision him looking at the beautiful lettering. A flash of insight struck him like you're not Johnny Miller, lightning. You are the one who owns these restaurants. Johnny's mouth formed. You took too long, he said with a cheeky smile. Yes, I'm Johnny Miller, he said lightly. Even the owner must occasionally recall. For the rest, people, remember that we are all human. As the final diners of the evening faded and the lights in the restaurant faded into a soft light, Ethan and Johnny whispered softly as they discussed. Secondly, the agony of being overlooked as well as the minor miracles that might alter a person's life. Every exchanged smile was a promise. A glimmer of hope in the gloom in the days following. The recollection of that terrible evening persisted in like a treasured secret, Ethan's mind. Wake up every morning with a newly discovered resolve. His body continues to bear the signs of a difficult journey, but his spirit, gently changed by the generosity of the card Johnny had handed him, stranger, turned into a talisman, serving as a reminder that even the world was back there when it turned. Were still those who were prepared to take a stand and say you. Johnny Miller's offer, however, was not an instant miracle. It was the start of Ethan began the process by meeting with Johnny at coffee in a little, busy cafe that doubled as a practice area for new hires at one of the eateries. A lot. Amidst the noise of the kitchens there, dishes and the bustle of Ethan's busy cooks, discovered himself taking on a position that was difficult and deeply verifying that he mastered the technique of cooking. Work on the meticulous vegetable chopping. The exact moment required to serve each meal flawlessly, and the significance of a kind grin when welcoming visitors with every day that went by, his confidence increased. The kitchen was where people sweated and camaraderie where all errors were addressed with tactful direction as opposed to mockery. Despite Ethan's growing abilities, the recollection of that burning night stake in Johnny's valiant stance, Miller continued to be a strong influence in his heart. It served as a reminder that he was not determined by his history, that one act of being compassionate could cause a chain reaction of transform his colleagues, many of whom had once quickly passed him without a second's notice. He was now embraced by thought as one of Mr. Lawson, their manager, implemented new regulations with the goal of guaranteeing each client, irrespective of the civility was extended to their appearance. And honor them. Slowly but surely, the strands deserved of hope started creating a fresh tapestry. The days of Ethan's life were no longer only occupied by the fight for. They were now interspersed with survival, prideful moments, and the contentment of difficult. At the restaurant, every shift was a resilience lesson and reminder that there was no way that dignity could be removed. It had to be battled for. And as the weeks stretched into months, they were nourished. Ethan's change became apparent to everyone, not only to himself. The man who had previously shuffled around him, with his head moving through the chilly streets, defeated, bowed, and now carried himself with a calm assurance that he was no longer inconspicuous in the warmth of the busy eatery, in the cordial conversation of his co-workers, and in the heartfelt smiles of pleased clients. Ethan discovered his location, followed by a clear morning as winter's hold on Ethan started to slip. Got a call from Johnny Miller with some words of encouragement over the phone and a commitment to talk about more chances that Ethan took advantage of. That the course of his life had changed. One that not only guaranteed survival but expansion outside the eatery. That had previously been a view of desperation and embarrassment. Ethan taking a big breath and gazing up at the sky. City that had appeared so chilly and uncompromising only a short while ago. The glow of possibility shimmered. His every step was no longer a march via a desolate wasteland of rejection, but a bold step toward the future. He was committed to developing Ethan's narrative, born after a night of unrefined humiliation, and the audacious intervention had developed into evidence of the transformational potential of kindness. It told the tale of the strength discovered in unlikely locations and the conviction that every individual, regardless of how flawed or disregarded, is deserving of a second opportunity in the straightforward act of purchasing a lunch that Johnny Miller had prepared. More than swap out a steak that had burned. Caused one man's life to undergo a revolution. Ethan was getting ready for another day on the position, prepared to handle the difficulties of redoubled his efforts in the kitchen. He contained the letter L of that a memorable evening. He was aware that while the wounds from the past may never completely heal, fading, they can act as a reminder of his fortitude and ability to shift that was inherent him. And so, in the constantly shifting light, Ethan welcomed his future on this fresh day. The once cold, uncaring person is now welcoming. He had received something priceless from the city. Opportunity to be regarded with respect and to transcend the difficulties that had previously characterized him. He still had a long way to go, but with each plate that is served and each encouraging word, nevertheless, he was constructing a life of decency, optimism, and unwavering bravery in the center of a busy eatery where every meal was a narrative, and Ethan was now a tale of rebirth, one that started not having drawn out openings, yet with an open challenge against injustice. Quick act of rebellion in the understanding that change can occasionally occur when someone has the audacity to suggest that you matter. Everyone is deserving of respect and generosity despite their situations. A one act of sincere compassion can lead to a series of hope and change in even the darkest passages in this tale that inspired you. Click like and subscribe for more positive stories. Convey this message to a person, those who might require a reminder that they matter, let's show compassion one deed at a time.